see if I can get do 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 do. Hold on. All right. Hey, how you doing? Just inviting some folks. Here we go. Oh, headphones. 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 There we go.
Once again, we are here
Hey.
with a PhD level coursework for
No
those who are
doubt.
brave enough in order to consume the material.
For sure. This has been a really exciting week. Having these lives has been transformational.
Yes, and I think what we end up having to facilitate, which isn't easy, is how do we go from our head to our bodies and actually expand our nervous systems so that we have the capacity to act. Because right now, our society is set up to where as long as you are able to regurgitate information, you want.
Right.
And the idea that that doesn't mean that I have the capacity to act, in our society, that's not necessarily valued,
Right.
which is real close to what I'm reading when it comes down to Paulo Freire. And I went back and forth with my father this morning, which is always he, my dad, and my uncle. It's always them, and it's real frustrating at times, saying, "Very good, Grasshopper."
Like we already knew that. Good job. Welcome to the club.
Correct. Now, this is what I've spent the last 25 years trying to implement, and that's when they come in with, this is, I ran into this, and I ran into that. What are you running into? Because they seem to be putting up resistance over here, putting up resistance over there. So that becomes like the conversation right now. What's the nature of the inner resistance? Because we can intellectually state that our European American friends and family don't have a story to adopt once they say, I see the injustice that you're talking about. And I don't want to take the risk of losing my life to implement the change. And it feels like these people that we're put up against won't do anything unless we threaten their lives. However, when their lives get threatened, they turn into victims because they're like, what is so bad that you guys want to hurt me about?
Yep.
You know? Because this is always supposed to be a game. It's not supposed to be something that hurts you so much that you want to hurt me. So, the real question to me becomes, what is the inner resistance to our European American friends and family believing that their behaviors are oppressive?
I mean, it makes them feel pretty crappy. But it's facts.
Right. There was one lady on Jason's post who said narcissists don't have empathy. And then Honey Day comes on and says white people don't have empathy. And so I come on to work with the white woman who said narcissists don't have empathy. I was like, so what's your definition of empathy? And they give me this definition of empathy that is straight out of the DSM textbook. And I go, how do you know that's real? If you're living in a completely different reality than Black, brown, and indigenous persons, which they're not going to put up resistance to, no, I'm not living out of the same. How do you know what you are experiencing in the oppressor class is based in reality? I think that becomes the very basis of most of the resistance of that, just running into the headline of, oh my God, I'm being treated like a white person. I am not having a universal human experience.
Yeah. Completely jolts their entire reality.
Yep. And so then what do I do when I crash against the idea of, wait a minute, I'm being treated like a white person all the time? Yes, white people are treating you like a white person, and Black, brown, indigenous people of color have to treat you like a white person. What do you think is happening? And they go, I'm being treated like a human being. That's what I think is happening. And we go, that's real nice. So when Black people are treated a certain way, they literally can see it and then not see it at the exact same time, because that can't be a reflection of me. Because it is a reflection of me, that I would hurt me too. And why are Black people trying to hurt me? It's because of the violence of that person over there. That can't be my reality. I have to be a nice person. That's why they're being nice to me. And that's to me, that's the biggest. I don't understand where the disconnect of, I can see what you're seeing and I'm not there. How is that possible?
Cognitive dissonance.
I'm almost like we got to come up with a different way, because a better buzzword, because it's such a distinctly different reality. It's like it's an alternative personality. Do you have any insight, Dr. Josh?
I just hopped in, so I don't actually know what we're talking about yet. I missed the topic sentence.
Oh, you're good. So where we're at is like asking the question of, what is the nature of the inner resistance that our European American friends and family end up, after interacting with Black people, recognizing, oh my God, I'm being treated like a white person. I thought this entire time I was being treated like a regular average human being, that I was basically a Chinese person is just a darker version of me, or a Black person is just a darker version of me, but we're having the same lived experience. But I come to find out, when they're talking, we can see the same current event, but they see me in the current event and I see Mitch McConnell, or I see Marjorie Taylor Greene, but they see me and I don't see me.
It's a big question, because I think what you're struggling to understand is tied into completely different views.
You're cutting in and out for me. I don't know about anybody else, but
No sound.
No.
Testing, testing.
Testing, testing in the background. It sounds like you are using
far
a
away.
tin can.
Oh,
Is that
Talk
any
now.
better? If I
Yes.
That's much better.
just hang out with. All right. So I'll just give myself wrist problems and I'll hold the phone. So I think it's tied into this difference, though, in worldview that is so fundamental, right? So we go back to the conversations we always have, right, about individualism, about understanding, the idea that someone can have some different views. So just subjectivity, right? We're raised in this individualistic mindset that's also tied into this myth of objectivity, right? That my view is accurate and it just is, and we are always arguing over who's right, whose view is correct, instead of the idea that we have different perspectives or views of the same reality, and maybe even neither be right. But that's really hard to hold on to, I think, for most people,
Agreed.
white
So-
people.
The example I'd used was on Jason's page on Facebook. He had put something, and then a white woman had come in and say, well, narcissists don't have any empathy. And my friend, who's my Sikh mentor, Huddy Dave, he comes on and says, white people don't have empathy. So then I asked the white woman, what's your definition of empathy? And she gave me a textbook a definition coming straight out of like the DSM-4 or 5. To which I go, how do you know after Dr. Thelma Bryant got the American Psychological Association to admit that it has upheld white supremacy all the days of its institution, and that ended in 2021, how do you know that you've had that experience of empathy and narcissism when people have treated you like a white person all the days of your life? At no time have you ever not been treated like a white person. White people are treating you like a white person. Black, brown, indigenous people are treating you as if you can call 911 and get them murdered at any given time. So the difference is no different than an aristocrat not understanding what a peasant is going through, because the peasant always has to give fealty to the aristocrat because I'm scared you're going to get me killed with your word alone. So the white woman is I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to make connection to you. And we're like, but you're in a totally different reality. And they're sitting up there like, I see what you see. And we're like, okay, but you never see yourself as the cop hurting me. You never see yourself as Mitch McConnell, who's making a decision that hurts me. You never see yourself as Mr. Trump. And they go, I'm not them. Now you, black person, who are oppressed, can oppress me. And that's where everything starts breaking down. The idea that oppression is one way. They sincerely believe you're hurting my feelings, just like I can hurt your feelings. And we're like, no, you can call 911 and get me killed. This is a life and death exchange. No, it can't be a life and death exchange. We're just talking.
Because everyone's so drowning in their own suffering, as it were. I don't think that there's this space for a lot of people to acknowledge their role in someone else's.
That's deep. That's deep. That's accurate too. I think that is absolutely accurate, and that is deep as heaven. Wow, dude. Wow. I am so immersed in my own nervous system that I have a hard time finding out that I am hurting you even as I'm trying not to hurt you.
Yeah. That's a hard one to let go of.
Somebody writes, Bjorn, I'm reminded of trying to survive my abusive father, telling him what he wanted to hear. Yeah, I mean, and when our European American friends and family make a statement like that, and we say that's got nothing to do with me, and that's not the same thing as you hurting me, they don't know what to say. Because they're like, isn't that the same thing? And we go, no.
No.
but it makes sense that I'm so immersed in the stimulus of my own pain, I don't know how to show, oh my God, everything I'm doing is still punching down. I don't want to engage. That's usually what happens. The white person then just says, I don't want to engage anymore.
Right.
If everything I say and do is me punching down, what am I doing here? I'm hurting myself. Am I right or am I wrong?
I mean, so at least from my perspective, and I'm curious what others think, but from my perspective, it feels like if I acknowledge my role in something that might harm you, and I put myself in the place of, like you said, Mr. Trump, then it feels like that means I have to let go of all of the hurt I'm going through, and nobody will care about what I'm going through
Right,
because it's a competition.
right.
Instead of
How can
all
I
of my
think of
suffering is still accurate, it's still there, and also all these other things are simultaneously true, and they don't cancel each other out.
Yeah,
we're so
it's more of a
caught up
yes
in the
and yes.
good person thing too. Oh, sorry, I've got a little lag. Go ahead, angry proletariat.
So yeah, it's more of a yes and we have to get out of that binary thinking that there are multiple truths that exist all the time at the same time. And when it comes to unpacking, so here's the thing. When it comes to unpacking all of your isms, when we say that it has to start with you, it's really about doing that hard work of finding out who you are and being able to forgive yourself. You can't give a community forgiveness. That's what we're seeing right now. No one knows how to forgive because they never learned how to forgive themselves. They've never learned how to be able to do the hard work and keep going, but not beating themselves up and playing the victim. And this is also why when we have these conversations, power dynamics is always missing from the conversation. And you know why? Because when we address that we have power, it removes our convenience from playing the victim when we need to. If we acknowledge that we have power in a situation, whether it's micro or macro, we have to take accountability for our actions. And we don't like that. We don't like that. So we will purposely like deflect or ignore power dynamics. And in every time we have whiteness and racism talk, you see that those defenses go up as if you did not have any power in any of this. You don't have any power to change things now. But it starts with you. So which one is it? Either you're completely powerful or you're powerless. You know, like which one are you? You have to make a decision.
Always,
If
always.
we admit we're the oppressor, how can we still claim good personhood?
And that's the thing. We always are the hero of our own story, right? We always want to be the good guy,
Mm-hmm.
almost at our own detriment of us being able to change.
Right,
Facts.
Like,
right.
and this is like this the past 2 years, I called this our Magic Mirror Gate era. If anyone is a fan of Neverending Story, that is what I dubbed it. Because this is the time that, old boy was just like, you're going to be facing, the Magic Mirror Gate. And he's like, oh, that doesn't seem like anything. Like, oh no. Like, this is when people really find out who they really are. It's like people that think they're heroes realize that they're cowards. People who think
Uh-oh.
they're nice guys, nice folks, are actually cruel. Most people
Mm-hmm.
run away screaming. That's what we're seeing right now. It's the
Speaking
ego
facts.
death. It's the collective ego death of people realizing all of this BS that I've been fed over all these years and taught that how this world works. I'm starting to realize that that's not it. And I'm actually a part of the problem? That can't be. I've always considered myself a good person. What are you talking
Yep.
about that I've been a part of this mess? Oh no. And people will take it through two different avenues, right? Either you will decide to face that, realize that you have been a part of the problem, changing your behavior and your actions and learning how to learn and unlearn, or you're going to crash out and go to violence, which is what whiteness is programmed to do. Anytime
Crash
you
out
have
and
cognitive
go to
dissonance, you're going to get
violence.
violent.
Oh my God. And I'm being violent in order to protect myself from the threat of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real talk, because I do hear
It's either
that in our society, in the hyper individualism of our society, you're always responsible for your emotional pain, even though you know you're being oppressed.
Yep.
I'm listening to it live.
Did you want to say something, Sophie? I guess not. How you doing,
Okay.
Sabrina?
I'm good. It's cutting in and out. So is it cutting in and out on my mic too?
Oh,
Nope,
we can
we can hear you.
good.
No? Okay. Well, I heard some of it, I think. The when talking about empathy and narcissism, the first time I learned about narcissism was in therapy. When I was telling the therapist about my mother, and then the therapist said, "Do you realize that your mother is a narcissist?" And I was like, "What? What is that?" And I thought I understood what it was, but I did not. And then when she said that, that's when I started to realize, oh my gosh, I've done this my entire life. And then started to learn like about empathy versus narcissism and how we all have it. The problem is that despite that realization, and then of course you work with changing that within yourself, at the time I still believed heavily in the allism. So I was still thinking like, that Black, brown, indigenous, and other people of color were just the same as us concerning narcissism and empathy. So that's where until I started to understand the covert racism and overt racism and those kind of things, then I could apply what I knew about narcissism and empathy in that way. But I still struggle a lot with trying to figure out what it means when you're talking about a white person or YT person or European American being narcissistic or empathetic versus our Black, brown, indigenous, and other people of color. So that's all I got right now from what I heard.
The original topic was what's the nature of the inner resistance of European Americans to basically accept that they're also the oppressor and it's not that person over there.
Mhm.
It's inside us all.
That
what
you
we're
can
doing.
call 911 at any given time, and the fact that you can call 911 dictates your relationships with everybody beneath you in the racial caste system. And the idea, like we were saying, Angry Proletariat was saying that the power differential, the power dynamic is in effect at all times, even if we are laying together as lovers. The power differential is in effect at all times. That usually causes the European American brain to short circuit and not want to experience it. So, I mean, I see somebody saying it feels like shit to learn it. Yes, but that's really what it gets down to. And the normal techniques of dealing with that kind of existential crisis don't work because you're in a group dynamic of 252 million people. So you can grow up all you want to. You still got to deal with the fact that the black person that you're dealing with at 1 o'clock in the afternoon was just called the N-word by 12 other people, and in your presence, they're sitting up there trying to just deal with, please don't you hurt me. And you can't get out of that. Go ahead.
And somehow we think that you telling us that and hurting our feelings is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's helpful to anyone, just occurred to me that I do a lot of work with neurodivergent folks, and in that community, there's this concept that we often talk about of the double empathy problem. And for those who aren't familiar, right, what we often will see is people used to say autistic people didn't have empathy or feelings, right? That was very common. It's a form of psychopathy. And people are like, wait, well, hold on. Is it? Or do you have two groups of people who have such different lived experiences that when they communicate, they completely miss each other? And that for example, your neurotypical and your autistic person will say something to one another and they will both simultaneously miss what the other person is saying or feeling because they just have such different lived experience. Right? And to me, there is so much overlap there with this conversation where if you're not willing to be curious about the other's experience instead of defensive, there's no way out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Seeking to understand. When I coach folks in like baby activists, the first foundation that we talk about is communication, because without communication, you basically got nothing. You got nothing. So we always kind of dissect how we are communicating with folks and having them sit to realize that most of the communication comes from listening, like just shutting your mouth. Like my mom told me, there's a reason why we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. To sit and actively digest what someone is trying to say. And as long as you have that curiosity and that seek to understand, because let me ask you this, how many people go into a discussion and not actually take a minute to say, okay, what are my goals with this discussion? What exactly am I aiming to do? Am I aiming to convince the person? Am I aiming to persuade them to do something? Am I asking them to take action on something? Or am I just really trying to understand? Whatever you're trying to do, you have to understand the other person first in order for you to even communicate your next action. So the problem is that we're now in a society where everything has to be razor lightning fast. Every time, jump back with an answer real quick, right now. Think it. And it's okay for you to stop and slow down and digest information and say, you know what? I actually don't know the answer to that. How about that? It is okay to say that you don't effing know. I say it all the time. Despite my degrees, it's okay. You don't always have to know. And I think that's why the Dunning-Kruger effect just be kicking our butts left and right. Because, well, I'll tell you this, even when I work with so-called allies who are trying to unpack their whiteness, we'll always get to that point of like, all right, I'm teaching you a little bit, you're learning a little bit. All right, you're feeling a little confident. Oh, wait, you're getting a little too confident. You know what they find out when they're on top of what they call Mount Stupid, is when they are starting to be a part of that community that they're working with, and that community checks them. I've been checked. Everyone gets checked. That is the real metal of what you are after you get checked. Because what's going to happen is you're going to fall into that valley of despair because, oh, I didn't know as much as I thought I did, and I got reprimanded from it and all of that. So you'll have the choice there. Either you pick yourself up, like I said, and realize, okay, I made a mistake, but I need to keep going. This is part of the work. I'm not perfect. It does not have to be perfect. I just have to learn and do better and keep going. And people do not owe me their trust. They don't owe me their forgiveness, but I will offer it. That's how you get yourself out of the valley of despair. and then you start moving a little bit forward with a little more grace, with a little more humble pie, to realize that you need to tread carefully and seek to understand. But a lot of folks who claim allyship, when they hit that valley of despair, they'll take their ball and they'll go home. They'll slip on their
Right.
little Uggs and they'll jump back in their Jeep Cherokee and they'll drive off
Yep.
and just say, I tried to help these people. They don't want my help. I feel disrespected. They talk to me this, and that, and all I'm just trying to do. That's the saviorism. That's the saviorism popping up. Like I said, everybody wants to be the hero, and I thought that I was going to be this superhero person coming to save this marginalized group, and they had the nerve to check me. I'm the one that's helping them. How dare you? Right?
Uh-oh.
That ego, that arrogance, that will stifle you from growth every single time. Everybody take a slice of humble pie. It's okay. We all had a piece.
Yeah. One of the things that I really had to learn was keep showing up. Even when it's painful, keep showing up. And you grow that muscle to where you can handle the painful part for the good of the order, basically. It's like, okay, it's pain. I know that's pain. I know where it's coming from. Oh, look here. Look here who's coming up. Look. So Roadstar had to leave. He has some other things he got to do, but he said he'll try and come back
Howdy,
a
howdy.
little bit later.
Hello.
Hello, Taz. How are you?
Good.
Is it time for class again?
It's always time for class when Taz is here.
Well, I've been in the comments as always, just writing away. But there's one thing that you all brought up, and it struck these two questions with me. That
Okay.
this is a pen and paper time. I've learned
Got
that I
it.
have to warn y'all. So here it is. Have you outlined your deconstruction IEP?
Mm.
And if you have, are you utilizing it for a worthy educational experience or a shield away from education? And once again, I always have to say, because I do notice that we have an influx of new people, my questions are not meant for you to immediately answer. It's for you to think over and mull over. You don't ever have to answer my questions publicly. They're for you to really self-reflect. But and also for those that are new, all the questions that I ask, I do drop over on Substack afterwards. So if you miss writing it down, don't freak out.
Right.
But as a
Right
conversation,
on time, Taz.
yeah, it started to make me think like, do y'all have a deconstruction IEP? Because you think about certain things only in certain realms and only within certain age groups. But if you're going to continue to learn, why not have that IEP? Why not make sure you have all of the tools so you can navigate over and around the obstacles, aka the excuses that come up? Why not make sure you align with educators and activists that can provide you with the information in the way that you learn? A lot of people stumble because they're going after who's popular or who's notable, knowing that they cannot. That's the way these people put forth information. And it is okay. Everybody is not going to be able to learn from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you can't learn from one person, it does not mean throw your hands up and give up.
And if you need a list of educators, please DM me. I can send you a list, and you can go down through there and find the educators that fit your learning style.
Yeah, because like I love my daddy to death. Can I learn much from him? Absolutely not. Okay.
I also want to know why Josh hasn't joined Eager yet. Oh,
Join. In what way?
so in Eager, we have a signal chat where we do deconstructing together, and then we offer resources for people who are deconstructing whatever. Be like, oh, go see Taz, go see Royalstar, go see Matthew Reynolds, go see Desiree B. Stevens, or whoever. But we're constantly in there. It's all day long. It really is. It's all day long. Sabrina can tell you. It sometimes it gets quiet, but not for long. But it's nice to have a community where we can talk about things that in a space that's not harming other communities. You know, you can talk about your feelings and you can talk about the things that you're going through without the shame or, you know, people making you feel like trash, you know? And then work through that so that you can get to the other side and you know you're not alone. It's nice. And then we have a community with the educators too.
And
which
I
is
run
nice.
through there and shake things up and then run out.
Yes, you do. Yeah. So we have different chats. There's different things that you can be involved in. One of them is with the educators. This is our eager community chat. And then we have like a deconstructing chat, a national chat. We have just a one that's just announcements. So if you ever want to join,
No, I'll join. It just needs another app to install.
yes.
But worth it. Oh, it's fine.
We're all over the place in there because we're all neurospicy, and I get
Yes.
I love it, but I get a chuckle how it'll go from something super serious to did y'all see this bullshit? In a second. I love it, and I love that everybody like lets their hair down, so to speak, and just says what's on their mind, and they decompress in real time in real ways, and the real world examples like, hey, I noticed this, I was out here, did I handle this right, how could I have handled it better? It's great because that's what you need to do. Everything isn't a super serious topic, and to notice that going out to dinner, you're going to be in a racial situation. Going to pick up your kids, you're going to be in a racial situation, and these people realizing it in real time, that's where it is. And wherever you go to seek more education, be open to realizing you know nothing. And I don't mean that in derogatory sense, because I know that I have my wheelhouse, which is very, very narrow. Take living through the eyes of a child, still get the enjoyment out of it, still get the wonder and the mysticism, and stop being afraid to ask questions. It's not the way that I do, because the people in Ghana still said that I cannot ask them any more questions until midnight.
Yeah.
I mean, my question list from you is pretty long at this point too, but I will take all the questions.
Well, I came on to ask a question, if that's all right.
Okay, Sophie,
Andrew.
what's up?
No questions here.
So I live in Oregon, and it's pretty wide over here.
We've got a lot of members from Oregon, by the way.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean I don't try to create community. It's just can be really challenging, especially if you're working on deconstructing. And I'm coming back to like listening to your original question, and it really just like something's in my head when the Angry Proletariat was saying about all the isms, and like why does it stick around for white European people? And I'm wondering if this has come up before, and if it's just me, but I'm a parent educator, and the adult supremacy of just sort of this having, that power differential with children, it is really clear sometimes I can't get through to some parents who want to create more trusting relationships with their kids, and at the same time, they'll hurt their kids, And so there's this question in my mind if they can really make that kind of progress without also deconstructing on that level.
No.
Environmental, like human supremacy on the planet, or, talking about ableism and like our internalized amount of ableism, that there's so many people I talk to who have ADHD but don't consider themselves like having a disability that they need supports for. So that's my question is anybody talking, like, how do, my question is, does it have to get to that level?
Work with a lot of homeschool boards and organizations, so I know exactly where you're coming from. So go with me here. In Oregon, it's one of those places that I say really doesn't produce anything but white people. And in doing that, there's no one for them to enslave. So they enslave their own, and they start by enslaving their children. So they can't have any type of weakness. So they're not going to acknowledge any type of disabilities, any type of difficulties. And they can't connect with their children because they've taken ownership of those children. It's hard to connect with someone when you're trying to own them. And there seems to be a deep-seated need for ownership in those that avoid deconstruction. As long as there's no diversity for them to own, they're going to continue to own their children. And that goes back historically, because when the parameters of slavery moved away from chattel slavery, people started to have double-digit amounts of children. They started to adopt pets because they feel the need to own something for the sake of control. This is why you have Euro-American women willing to give up their bodily autonomy because they want to be in control of somebody else's autonomy. It's always about control outside of self instead of looking within self and controlling self. This is also why I'm sure you've noticed that there is a combination with these people of unregulated emotion.
Yeah.
But they'll critique you regarding just the healthy showing of your emotions. It goes back to ownership. They want to own everyone but themselves. So cracking through, you're not going to crack through to them, unfortunately. You could get through to their children, but you're not going to crack through to them because they're on a search for a deed, not themselves.
But you're right in seeing that
That's
there.
a word. We are aligned. I just made a post about that. Just made a post about how our obsession with policing each other is because we are failing to understand that the only thing we have control of ourselves. And when we're not ready to do that, we're not ready to address that work, we will turn it outward and try to police someone else. And I tell people too, like I said, I firmly believe, I will die on this hill, that the way that you view and treat children is the way you treat humanity as a whole, because that is the most vulnerable group that exists. Most time, their whole lives, life and death depends on an adult to make those choices for them. That kind of oppression is unique. And so
Facts.
if you are seeing them as property and giving them absolutely no agency and autonomy, and that's the way you feel that should be, then I don't think that you're going to be able to patch into any kind of empathy for my grown ass. You
You
know?
know what's funny? Can I chime in here?
Please.
Of course.
Bobby. You know what's funny?
Yeah.
We refer to children as minors, right? And refer to black people and other people of color as minorities.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all see the connection there?
Yep.
You see how they treat us?
Yeah.
You see how they treat us?
Well,
It's like they treat black people like we have no agency whatsoever. Or worse, they treat black people especially like we're not supposed to have agency. How dare you try to have agency?
Or want it.
How dare you try
Or
to self-determine?
want
If you try to self-determine in my society that I think is my birthright, right? I'm going to break everything in that society to make sure you can't self-determine. You can't get shit. And this is what we're living through yet again.
well, it's interesting that you bring that up because it has been documented historically. It's chronicled in a book called The Deep South, where they explore the caste system. But there was a series done by a newspaper that was local to what's called the Old Country, where they were asking white people, and white people specifically said, we have to treat black people as children. They have no agency. So that connection is there. It's notable. This is why I say non-deconstructing people of the old school, so to speak, the originating regime and their direct descendants, the ones that gave birth to the grandparents and the parents of people watching this and sitting on this channel, they know the truth. They know the history. They know what they're doing. What their failure was was they forgot to tell that next generation that, hey, these are lies. This is the real history. We know what we're doing. We know that we put these labels here for a reason. We are trying to mind fuck everybody. If we put this label on you, you're going to subconsciously attach it to this. This is why you have minor and minority. This is why you have so many different words to mean theft and thievery.
I mean, you know, it's crazy. I've actually been in the Caribbean, and I've seen white folks describe the Caribbean islands by saying, "Oh yeah, it's full of minorities." Meanwhile, the black people in that Caribbean island are the majority of the people there.
Right?
Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just like, you just give away the whole store right there.
Because I would love to.
Oh,
People
we're
who
insane.
don't know. I'm from the Bahamas, and when people would come down to visit, they would go, "Oh, how do you feel about living around the minorities?" My mother, God rest her soul, would say, "We don't live around y'all," and they would get so confused, like, "What?"
Your mother's 100% right. Bravo. That is
Good for her.
why you're as erudite as you are. Your mother wasn't duped. Okay?
Tenacity.
She wasn't. And when we moved to the United States, I was wondering, like, why is it taking us so long? Why is it taking us so long? Because I wanted to go to a particular school, and we had to live here for me to go to that school. That's what my brain was focused on. Okay, anything else. But my mother found a predominantly minority residing suburb, and she was waiting for a house to come for sale. So she was like, "We're not moving until we can go there.
Bravo.
We're not going anywhere else. We're going to go there." There were two white families that lived in this suburb. One was the former mayor, who I don't think anybody ever told that man he was white. I don't think he knew that. He didn't live his life. I think he just thought he lost his tan. And there was one other family that was white, and they were a little questionable too. I'm like, do y'all know I'm married?
Y'all know where you're at.
Like, y'all
Lord.
don't, you don't, I see you. Do you see you? Like, I got into a fight at a grocery store that I worked at with a card carrying Nazi. Like, I saw the card. Like, he was proud to whip it out. And that 65-year-old man whooped his ass and said, "Don't do my people like that." I was like, yo, what's your what? You albino? What's going on? Like, bruh, are you like?
Yo, I'm telling you, man. I'm speaking about the Caribbean experience. You're talking about that. I mean, I call myself Island White Pundit for obvious reasons. I'm from the Caribbean, right? It's funny. My mother came up to the States like a year before I did. Okay? Immigrated up here a year before I did. Would you know that the moment I got up here, within a month of me getting up here, my mother sat me down and gave me the talk. Within she's only up here a year, and she gave me the talk. This with all the same bullet points that African Americans have been giving their children for generations. You know what that tells me? That indicts this country for, like, we talk about, oh, we're progress. It indicts this country because if a black immigrant comes up and within a year, she can tell her son, like, you know, she can generate for herself that the bullet points of the talk just from her living in the country a fucking year. What does that tell you guys?
We're all just trying to survive whiteness. We're just trying to survive. Like there's been trends that has popped up over the years that talk about like what are some unspoken things, like what are some things that your parents taught you about how to navigate the world that most people might not know. And I was like, I remember my mom telling me like you don't ever put your hands in your pockets or in your purse when you're in the store.
Yep.
You don't ever do that. You don't ever want them to think that you're stealing. And, you know, people are just like, what? Why you have to do that? I dig in my purse all the time. Well, I mean, because you have the right shade for that. That's good for you. Not for a lot of us. We don't want to get stopped in there.
Package in the store.
Don't open that package.
zipped up, have your receipt in your hand. And a
And
lot of times, if the store is small, buy something before you leave.
You know what's funny too? Even to this day, my big grown ass, when I go into a store and I pick up an item in the store, I make sure that the item is visible in my hand from a distance so that they know I did not tuck it into my jacket or my pocket. I don't care how small the item is. I make sure that shit is visible in my hand so that I don't get accosted when I'm trying to leave. I still do that to this day as a big grown man.
Yep.
And it's not something I have to worry about. All right? At all. It's not even something that would be on my radar.
There was whole discussions when I was getting ready to go to college where me and my dad would do drills like, what happens if you get pulled over? It's like, I maintain my speed, I pull over, I turn off my engine, I put my keys on the dashboard, I turn my radio off, make sure I don't make any sudden move. I have my license and my insurance and my registration visibly in my hand, ready to hand to them. Everything is yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Absolutely comply. Because the goal is, he's like, I don't care if they're wrong. The goal is to make it home alive.
And you know what's funny? What's messed up, what a lot of white people don't understand. It stresses us out. Like when I see police lights in my rearview mirror, it stresses me out.
White knuckling. And
It
I'm
stresses
pretty
me out.
melanated. White knuckling that.
I mean, like, there's one time, right? I made a left hairpin turn. I didn't make the left hairpin turn exactly the way the hairpin should be because it's fucking impossible. It's bad road design. People just cut across the lane and make the left turn. 2 police cars pulled in behind me. Can I tell you, man? I mean, I've done martial arts, so I can tell you, right? I engaged in prana breathing to relax, to calm myself. I did deep meditative breathing to calm myself because I started to see my life flash. Because I was like, what the fuck did I do? Why do I have 2 police cars right up under my ass like that? I'm like, at least 5 guys jumped out. What the fuck did I do? You know? And you know something? And like, I had to tell the cop said, license ready, whatever. And I was like, okay, sir, I'm about to reach into the glove compartment. I was telling him everything I was doing. I'm about to reach into the glove compartment. It's over there on the right side. And I'm about to open it. I reached over very slowly. I pressed the release. I let the glove compartment fall open. Now you can see there's nothing in there. My registration and insurance is in that black plastic envelope that you see right there. I'm going to reach for it right now, sir. I literally walked him through everything I was doing in a very slow and deliberate way. And the officer had this look on his face like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing that? And in my head, I was like, I registered that, but I was like, fuck you. I'm not dying today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I have a new neighbor here that does not understand why there's a group of 4 of us and 2 people are deliberate. And they told us that they are deliberate in walking to give us protection. She's like, oh, why do you need that? Because the last walk that we have to take with all of our dogs is after dark. And even though we are very immigrant heavy over here, the immigrants reign as far as look. There are people who you looking at them by the American standard, they're citizens. Nobody's going to bother them. But at night, walking around, doesn't matter that we're all women, they're going to see us as a threat. If we have to walk past somebody's car because it's happened previously, why are you so close to that car? Now, granted, this car was one good sneeze away from falling apart. I don't know what we were going to get from. What I put on my dog costs more than this entire car, but they don't care. They do not care. Let us not forget, for those that tend to believe that money absolves people from being on the receiving end of racism, now I don't particularly 100% like this person because they have a whole lot of bad taste. But nonetheless, and they cater to the white gaze. Let's not forget Oprah Winfrey walking into a high-end boutique, wanting to follow her like a dog and not wanting to sell to her because they didn't believe that she had the money to do it. And I can't tell you how many stores I've walked into where one aspect of what I had with me cost more than everything in the store, and they're questioning or not wanting to help. Okay. Just like one time, my earliest understanding of what's going on, because witnessed a lot of things and go back and rethinking things. I'm like, okay, yeah, that was. But the first time I was cognizant of it, my mom, my granny, and I, every Saturday we would go shopping. My granny went into a store in a particular mall. My granny was looking for 3 things for a gala that she was to be attending. She needed 3 things to complete her outfit. Went into the store, we saw it. This woman was on my granny's arm. And my granny was like, oh, there it is, I'll get that. Are you sure you want that? Yes, I'm sure. Are you sure? It costs blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can read.
I'm sure. And then she kept going and kept going. And my granny said, you know what? Never mind. I don't want it anymore. Just then, another employee who was familiar with my granny walked in and was like, oh, did you find that piece? I've got a couple more in the back for you. I pulled them aside to see if you wanted to compare them to your outfit. The woman's face dropped. And my granny said, absolutely not. I will spend no more money here until she's gone. The woman then scoffed. The next week we went back, that woman was gone because once again, every Saturday we shopped with a group of other Black women who every Saturday was their shopping day. We were who were sustaining that high-end boutique. That woman didn't read the room as to who her clientele was. She was chasing down all of these white women who were coming in, window shopping from the inside and not spending a dime and not paying attention to. She was going to put herself out of a job anyway because she needed to feel better. And the worst of the racists are the people who put themselves in positions that they couldn't benefit from. And let me explain. The people who take jobs at companies that they can't buy from, that they can't shop from, because they believe that their employment makes them better than you, but are quick to talk about paying your bills and your wages. No, sweetheart, it's the other way around, and that's why they self-implode. That's why they become violent.
You
Because
know what's funny?
they own you, they want to bury you.
You know what's funny? You know, some of the worst offenders, worst perpetrators of that be your own people sometimes. Like, I'm telling you, like Caribbean, like, I went to a vacation in the Caribbean in St. Thomas of all places years ago.
I'm sorry.
St. Thomas of all places years ago, right? We were in a hotel. Now, my wife and I, we both make 6-figure salaries in the Northeast. So numerically, yes, we earn a decent amount of money. Okay? At the time, we had 1 child. My son was like 4 years old at the time. And I noticed that when we went there, because we had Caribbean accents, the staff at the hotel that we're staying at was kind of short with us and rude with us. Like, wasn't very helpful. You know what I'm saying? Okay? I guess they figure, who I think I be? You're from down here and I feel I better than people down here. Who I think I be? You know what I'm talking about, right, Taz? Huh? You know the attitude? Like they look at your fellow Black people like, who y'all think y'all be? So they treated us very short and very unhelpful. One guy that was working with us, one guy that helped us, you know, with everything we needed, he recognized what time it was, and so he was very helpful. Okay? But those same staff were bowing and scraping, as I call it, to this Midwestern white family. And I could tell that Midwestern white family did not earn as much as we do. You could tell. They were not in a position to give them any generous tips of any sort. That family probably had to really save for that trip, more than I would have had to. You know what I'm saying? Not to sound bougie or nothing like that, but I knew that my family as a unit made way more than that other that what a white family as a unit. And we were in a position to actually tip and and stuff like that than the other family was. They were Johnny on the spot with those people asking them, "Oh, what do you need? You need this and anything? Oh no, you should try this." Da, 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 da. No suggestion like that for us. We're in the restaurant in the hotel,
They're
you
talking
know.
everybody from the United States is wealthy, and that white people are more wealthy than anybody else.
Yeah.
And that's why, and that's the sick part, because isolated colonization, and that's what I call it. Being from the islands, it's isolated colonization. You refuse to read the room, because if you read the room, you'll realize that you're wrong. And the biggest problem with humans as a whole is not being willing to accept being wrong. As if you're going to explode, as if your life is going to be taken from you because you were wrong about something. Okay, oh well, move forward and get better from it. That's seemingly our kryptonite. They want to, and the United States does an impeccable job of marketing to the world that there's no racism. Money is flowing like it's a great utopia. Everybody is like that 1982 Coca-Cola commercial, just holding hands. I want to see a world of hope. No, the fuck they don't. No, the fuck they don't. Okay? The United States is not Burger King. You can't have it your way or anywhere close to it. All right?
Especially if you're black.
Right. Something is always off of the menu. Something is always out of stock. And that something is humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But they tell everybody, oh, this is so great. We have this and we're so welcoming. And people want to take advantage of it. Now, part of the taking advantage of the United States, I can't blame people, because the United States, we like to take advantage of everybody else. So people are like, you know what? Run those pockets. I'm going to flip you upside down and shake the shit out of you to get every little coin and the lint. But baby, we don't have any coins. We don't have the coins. Okay? We are barely. And this is what I don't get about racist. It is expensive to be racist. And I don't know what economy you were in. We're barely able to make a full sandwich the way we want it. And y'all out here spending thousands of dollars a month on merch to prove that you're racist. How fucking dumb do you have to be?
I mean, it's amazing. It's really amazing. I think that the world is finally seeing that, listen, racism is very expensive. Right now. It's happening in real time.
But if you believe the story that you can have all the things like the top 1%, if you just put the work in, then you will keep producing.
And the irony about that, the whole American dream thing wasn't even about the top 1%. It was stories put into magazines by a well-known pedophile in order to coerce young boys to come to the country so he could diddle them. That's where the American dream originated from. It wasn't even about money or success. It was about luring young boys to the country to be assaulted. And we decided, you know what, we'll rebrand it.
Right?
We are a mess.
It's amazing. It is amazing, man.
And hide the change on the Statue of Liberty, right?
Yeah.
Don't forget that one, right?
Oh, did y'all see that Joy DeGruy video? A recent
amazing.
interview she did?
No, I didn't.
Oh my Lord, that interview was.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, everyone
the
go check
full
it out.
video. Oh my Lord, just like gem after gem after gem, soundbite after soundbite. Like you could listen, you're just like, damn. I gotta go read a book again. I read a book like twice. And
So I had wanted to chime in.
Dave's here.
Real quick, since Taz and Island Boy have both been sharing some stories. We've been sharing some stories about our lived experience. I just want to take a time before I give people a chance to speak, those on the panel who haven't spoke, that it's important right now. Like this is the challenge that I want everybody to focus on, is to try to focus on just validating someone's experience when they share it with you. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to disagree with it. You don't have to. The first thing to do if you want to start actually deconstructing, is starting to validate people's feelings. You have the right to have your feelings validated. The people who are sharing their feelings with you need their feelings validated. It doesn't mean that this
Right.
gives you an opportunity, because I know in some of y'all gears in your head, those who haven't been deconstructing as further as other people were listening to stories and being like, how can I rationalize how that happened to them? Maybe there is
Right.
another reason why that happened. Don't do that. Don't do that. Try to fight against that. Because you know what? That's not important right now. You know what's important? This person is sharing a piece of their life, a piece that I have no idea about, and they are trusting me with sharing that piece of information. The best thing that I can do to stay on to my humanity and to build community is to validate that person's experience. Your job is not to make that person feel better, okay? We're not asking you to console us or make us feel better unless we ask you to. But if we did not ask you to, we are just wanting to share, to give you a glimpse of how our life is that you don't and cannot see. So the best thing to do is be like, that sucks that happened to you. That's it. How can I support you? That's it.
Or
Right?
simply just say, I hear you. And to piggyback off of that, ask yourself in that moment why you only want to bond with us over trauma.
Yeah.
Because you
Yes.
don't do this when we're sharing something jubilant. When we're sharing good news, you'll sit and listen and take in the good news. But if we're saying something like, oh my God, this happened to me and it really hurt me. Oh, well, that happens to me too. I go through that. Why do you only want to bond with us in trauma?
Mhm. That good vibes only. As soon as I see somebody good vibes only, I'm out, because I'm telling you what,
Oh.
life be lifing, and not everything is gonna be good vibes. And guess what? That's okay. It's okay.
Oh, it's just like
Life
the
ain't
people
always.
who say, I don't do drama, so you don't disagree with anybody ever. Because I loathe the word drama, because drama just means discourse. That just means we're not
Yes.
saying eye to eye and we don't agree. That's not a bad thing. And I can't stand when people go, oh, I don't do drama, so you just let people run over you. You never say no. That's a problem.
Mm.
Yeah, something like that happened at my work, and they were like, "Oh, it's just gossip, whatever." And I'm like, "I'm telling y'all that the security manager is like, everyone in security is black, and he is a white man, and he, the first thing he said when he started working there, is he walked up to the only black woman in security and said, "Oh, I had a Jamaican girlfriend," and he's also like just a compulsive liar, and it was. Sorry, I got home from having a seizure and I had a point to the reason I was telling that story, but now I forget.
Oh, don't worry. You're fine.
But it'll come back eventually.
But it's amazing when you say that he pointed out that he had a Jamaican girlfriend. Dirk Nowinski is married to a black woman. And every time somebody brings it up, he gets an uncomfortable look. And for a long time, people misread that uncomfortable look, like he was ashamed of his wife or something. And in a recent interview, he said, no, I'm not ashamed. I'm uncomfortable that you all don't know her name by now. And that's all you point out about her is that she's my black wife, not my wife, not the love of my life, not the mother of my children, not this educated woman, but that she's my black wife, as if that gives credence to either one of us. He said, we met, we fell in love, we got married. What makes us any more special than anyone else? You cannot tokenize the people that are around you thinking that's going to give you a leg up in life. It doesn't. There's nothing that any of us can do outside of the other one. We can fall in love, we can fall out of love. We can start a relationship, we can break up from a relationship. We can get married, we can get divorced, we can decide to be polyamorous. It doesn't change the parameters because of the skin that you're in or the skin that you lay next to. If y'all don't like each other, you don't like each other. If you don't respect each other, you don't respect each other. If it's transactional, it's transactional. It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you a worse person. It just makes you a freaking person. Trying to collect black people, brown people, and other indigenous people of color does not make you the freaking Thanos of society. It makes you weird.
Yeah, like you collecting
Facts.
trophies. We are not trophies.
Right.
Build your relationship.
Objectifying, dehumanizing.
Yeah, build your relationships organically. Okay, if I were to line up all of my friends and they said nothing, you just looked at them. Some people will go, yeah, that makes sense. Those would be her friends. Other people will be like, okay, what connects these people? When they start to speak, you're like, oh, I can see why they hang out with each other. That's how your circle should be.
Yes.
You have a look to it. You shouldn't. Like, my nemesis in life is related to me. Okay? We don't share no DNA. And even if we did, I would deny it. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I would deny it. Okay? I would take time to change that paperwork because that heifer makes my soul itch. And no matter how much Carolina I would drink, it wouldn't make the itch go away. But I don't dislike her because she happens to be white. I dislike her because she's a bitch. Like, just hate. If you're gonna hate somebody, hate them because of who they are. If you're gonna love somebody, love them because of who they are. If you're gonna befriend somebody, befriend them because of who they are and what you have in common. Not so you can whip out their name and a picture of them to say, I'm not racist, I'm not bigotous, I'm not homophobic. Yes, you are, and you are the worst of it because you still aren't seeing us as human. You are seeing us as something you could pick up from the toy aisle at Target or Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
You're still keeping ownership over somebody. And I don't appreciate that. Give me my receipt back, half because I'm sure you didn't pay enough for me.
You know, it's like to piggyback on what y'all was saying about that, right? I went to a predominantly PWI in New York City, the Cooley system, right? Even though it was diverse, mainly a lot of white folks. And I was in the drama theater dance department, right? And I used to get people saying they were talking about something topical at the moment and something racial came up. Like there was a police shooting or something, right? And they would say, I'd hear them talking about me like if I'm not in earshot. And they'd say shit like, yeah, but what about DK? DK's black. They're like, no, DK's not black. DK's DK.
Mm.
Yep. Oh, trust me, I know what you mean because for far too many people, and I can always tell when they find my profile and they go, "You're a girl." Yes, you met one of those people that to them I am genderless. So when they describe me and talk about me, I have no gender, I have no race, I have no ethnicity. I am just a floating entity. And then when you see me, you're like, I am confusion. I know. And people think that is like a good thing. Like, oh, I got to know you so well that this doesn't matter and that doesn't matter. That means that you don't see me. That's the epitome of colorblindness. If you don't see me, what have you really learned about me? Because when I tell you about my accomplishments and my struggles, are you getting the depth of it because you've eliminated key parts of me? You're not going to get it. If I'm telling you of my pride and getting a position, if you remove my gender and my race, it's just another position gotten. You're not getting why I'm so proud of it. You have to see a person in their entirety and get to know them in their entirety. You're not doing a good thing by eliminating it. Because if you can't see the first thing about me, how are you going to see the second, the third, the fourth, and on down the line?
You know what's funny too? I mean, and this is something like a lot of white people don't understand. When you're in a predominantly white environment, code switching is almost 24/7. We gotta code switch so hard. We gotta at the spur of the moment assess, look at your body language, look at how you say things, look at how you move, and adjust, kind of like manage our emotion, manage how we feel, and at a nanosecond at a time, constantly, the whole freaking day. We can't truly bring our full emotional selves to you.
We're the blueprint for the 45-second delay. We're the blueprint for the 45-second delay. You know how you have a delay in live shows? We're the blueprint for that because we have to live that way. And I am a prime example of this. For so long, the forced assimilation is real. I told y'all, I'm originally from the Bahamas. You don't hear an accent until I get pissed off. Until I get pissed off and I cannot concentrate on my voice, then it comes out. And for some reason, this app does not like for me to have an accent because I get banned every time it comes.
Oh my
Every
God.
time it comes out. But yes, my
I've
parents
seen,
were there sent me to years worth of speech therapy to quell the accent so that I would be more palatable to the societal standard.
yeah. I took speech classes when I came up here first to kind of manage my accent. Like now I'm older, I'm kind of like, I tell you, I've gotten older, right? I'm 50. I'm more in that I don't give a fuck anymore. You know?
I didn't see what you look like. You're 50?
Yes, I'm 50.
All this time I thought you were younger than me.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the blackness right there.
Wait,
That's
lesson
the
learned. You
blackness.
never have tasked guess your age. I am never correct. And I have guessed everybody's age wrong. All there are people who are in their 60s. I thought that they were in like their early 30s. I'm not good at this. Or maybe I am good at it. Maybe I'm a boost to everybody's ego. I don't know.
Do it.
Well,
Do
I'm
it.
saying, you know, I mean, I took all that time to, you know, took speech classes. So when I talk, I can talk clearer so that when I'm in the office, I'm speaking to people, I speak a certain way so that the accent is somewhat muted, you know? You know what I'm saying?
This
And
ties real close to, so one, like, to Taz and Island Boy's point, like, when we're talking about empathy, right? Like, there's no way that you can even try to tap into empathy if you are not seeing the whole human being, if you're not seeing the whole person, if you are just seeing this kind of colorblind, blankless, faceless slate of a human, then that's not a human. You've dehumanized that person. You've taken away the qualities and the identities that are on that person, whether wanted to or not, that shows how they live through their life, and you are erasing that. That means that there's no way you can have empathy for that type of person because you didn't make them a person anymore. You stripped that away from them. And
Yeah.
that's what we ask, like, when you're trying to unpack and deconstruct, you have to be able to see the whole person. So I'm in an
Indeed.
interracial relationship. My husband is white, and I was deconstructing for my internalized anti-blackness at the same time that I met him. And when we were working together and living together, we had a lot of hard discussions because I told him, as I've been deconstructing, I've been losing a lot of white friends because when I started showing up in my real self, they did not like that. Oh, you're doing too much. Why is everything about race? Why is everything about this and that? And I started cutting them off. And he was also unpacking his whiteness at the same time as I was unpacking my anti-blackness. And that's why I tell people that there's no way that you can be colorblind and being in interracial relationships, whether it's romantic or platonic, because you're stripping away that person's humanity, and you won't be able to be a true friend for them. Like, my husband said a long time ago, he's like, I'm glad that I started doing the work with you because I had no idea that this is how you really had to walk through life. And here I am thinking that your life is very similar to mine, even though you're a woman, but knowing that you are a black woman, and him coming and just like, I've been hearing some of the things that white people say around me, not knowing that I have a black wife. And it's unsettling that it happens so often. And I have to check them. And he's like, when you're in those interracial relationships and you don't see the whole person, you are actually a liability to them. You are a danger to that person because you have to understand that they can't do all the things that you used to do. We talked about our teenage years and how I was always scared to death. Like I was illegally detained at one time when I turned 21, and for something very fictitious. And he talked about how
That's scary.
he broke into places with his friends and trespass, and oh, we had a grand old time, and like, yeah, the cops caught us, but they cut us loose. And I'm like, that's that's wild. And he's like, yeah, I realize now that you can't do the same things that I did. That the world does not look at the same way as at you than they look at me. And if I want to be able to look after you, if I want to be a part of your life and help protect you and keep you safe, I have to know how you walk through this world.
Right.
So
That's
that's
right.
it.
I had a
That's
friend.
right.
My eyes were truly, truly open to a lot of the differences when I moved to Frankfort, Kentucky. There was one person that at a party, first of all, white women, y'all are never beating the allegations that if y'all see a stray animal, you're not taking it home. Because at this party, this woman had every type of animal known to man. They were very well behaved. But I was sitting there feeling like I went to go visit Dr. Doolittle. And then there was a man sitting there talking about having fist fights with cops on duty, breaking into places, demolishing construction sites. And everybody's like, yeah, you know, when I was 15, I did that too. And I'm like, are you? I was sitting there like, is this about to be a SWAT moment? Or they about to kick the door in? Because first of all, lady, where you get these animals from? And what the hell are they talking about? Like, this is a lot of felonies. What's going on? And then making a friend down there, I had actually the worst panic attack I had had in a long time because she would drive around and she saw a new store, a new place. She had this habit of driving behind the stores. I am black. We can't do that. They think we're out the joint. And when I'm telling you she's driving behind this strip mall, I am progressively losing my shit and sliding out of the seatbelt onto the floor of this car because I am begging her and crying, please come from behind this building. This is not going to go well for me. If anybody sees this, this is what's going to happen. She's like, no. It'll be fine. What happens? We come out on the other end. There are 4 cop cars because the only thing the people in the store saw was me in the passenger seat. They didn't care who was driving. And they wanted to know what was going on. And I looked at her and she was like, oh, we are different. Yes. They see me and see criminal no matter what I'm doing. They see you and they see a perpetual child that needs to be protected. Because even though she was in the driver's seat, it's her car, registered to her name on all of the paperwork. She kept asking me why I had her behind this strip mall.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I'm crying. They're lifting me off the floor of the. Do you know how bad you have to be to slide out of a seatbelt?
Yeah.
And they're asking, what are you doing with her? I'm the victim here, sir. I am the victim. I can't even breathe. And they're like, well, answer me or we're taking you to jail.
Oh, shit.
Also, like, borderline kidnapping. 'Cause, like, you weren't driving the car.
Right. And I'm like, I don't know if
You
you've
have
ever had a
agency.
panic attack, but trying to talk while in a full-fledged panic attack is damn near impossible. I can sign, but I'm like, if I start moving my fingers, they're going to think these are gang signs because I've been there before too. Because evidently, if you're black, you have perfect hearing. And after a while, one of the employees happened to know my neighbor and was like, oh, I know her. She's not the problem. And my friend that I had made, oh, she was well known to be a problem evidently in that area. She was the menace. And after I calmed down, I looked at her. I was like, you know what? I'm enjoying learning about you as a friend, but we cannot meet in public ever again.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot. Like, you don't want to listen, and you really believe that society sees us the same, and society doesn't. Because she thought that because we were both women, we would both be handled with kid gloves. I said, first of all, they don't see me as a woman. My womanhood is gone.
Yeah.
They see the color of my skin and they see me
You're
as a
men.
criminal, and they think that I'm the biggest, baddest criminal out there. Now, if they only knew that I'm against uniforms and that is what keeps me out of jail, yeah, that's pretty much. I don't want to wear a uniform. If I was against breaking the law, I would stop sending allegedly frogs to Mitch McConnell. But I'm not going.
That's terrible that happened to you, Taz. That's awful. Yeah, and we've got lots of stories like that, and that's why. So, like, there was a friend of mine. She has 2 boys. She's a white woman with her partner, and she was talking about, like, I don't know how I'm gonna raise my boys in this kind of environment, this kind of world. Like, how can I keep them from not being a part of the problem? And it's like, I know they got years to go before they're in these situations, but here's the thing. You need your boys to understand that the way that they navigate through life is not going to be the same as the rest of their friends, especially their black friends, and that they have to be cognizant of that. And then also to realize too, like, if you're going to choose to have black friends and non-white friends, and that as you're growing up, there's going to be times that you're going to interact with adults and police officers. Do not leave your friends behind. Like, teach your sons, teach your daughters to actually be real friends that will actually record, like, teach them about bystander intervention, like, teach them to be brave, and doing bystander, because when I do bystander intervention, the number one thing I hear people is like, I don't want to put myself in danger. Child, there are so many things that you can do for bystander intervention that does not put you in any danger, but you must learn how to do something. You must learn how to be able to properly intervene to stop harm. If you truly care about these people in your life and feel that you want to be part of their lives, this is the task. This is the job. This is the work. Like, just like you protect your family members, you want to protect them from harm. That's the same for your friends. And if you want to be a good human, that's the work that you try to do. You must learn how to be able to try to do something. And perfectionism will kick your ass every single time. If I don't do it right, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna keep it a bean. You're white. You can make mistakes. You can make several mistakes. It's
Facts.
okay. Just do it.
In raising children,
Keep showing up.
people, you have to raise your children into adulthood. You have to allow your children to be adults, because right now you are being allowed to be a perpetual child, and you're allowing your children to perpetually be children. If you want to make sure that they're going to be there for a diverse society, you have to allow them to grow up. You have to allow them to mature instead of continuously warping yourself and them into infantilization. And that's the biggest thing. I've said it before, let me say it again. We are never allowed to have a childhood, and you all are never allowed to have an adulthood. And those two things cannot exist in society when you think that you can parent us, but you are the child.
Right.
And this is why you believe that it's our responsibility to take care of you while taking orders from you. Make that make sense. Think about the parents out there. How would you feel if your toddler, your preteen, or your teenager came to you to tell you what to do, knowing that you still have to give them guidance? And you're setting the rules and the curfews of the house, but you're doing it in accordance to them? People who still want to be Superman, Batman, a fireman, and an attorney all at one time when you ask them what they want to be when they grow up. So the first thing you need to ask yourself is, have you grown up? And if you haven't, what is it that you want to be when you grow up? Because you're forcing one singular community of people to be the adults for the world.
That's facts.
And then simultaneously, you wonder why all of your rights and freedoms are being taken away from you. You're giving them away. Whether you give it to us or give it to the government, you're giving it away. And then punching the air and looking at us like we're crazy. I
Absolutely.
don't know about you, but I don't take orders well. That's why I'm not in the military.
Me neither. I'm so bad at
Plus,
it. I don't like no
y'all
one
know
telling
me.
me what
I
to
be
do.
done bedazzled and pinked out the uniform like, you do not blend in, girl. I'm not trying to blend in. Okay? They be like, we taking this hike. Who is we?
So
Just the
we've
right
hit
comfort.
an hour and a half, and I want to respect the time of our panelists and our educators. If you have the means and can throw some cash their way, please do that. This work costs money to do. They have lives that they need to support, family members. So please be generous with your time, your energy, and your resources. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you check out Taz's link tree because I can't keep up with her. I can't keep up with her. But
I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna slow down mid-April.
when?
I promise. I'm gonna slow down mid-April. Now my slowing
Oh.
down is okay. It's relative. It is relative. But I am. And don't forget, Saturday history class is on assignment. The Ashanti telenovela continues. It's a rocking good time and informative. If y'all want to and join me, I'm nice. Ish. Okay, look, I will have snacks tomorrow. I'm gonna be
Look.
nice. I'm gonna have snacks.
Look, Taz's classes are amazing. The Angry Proletariat is also an educator, so please check them out. I appreciate you all being here and educating us. And we'll be back Monday. So hope to see some of you, if not all of you, here again, 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks for having us.